Everybody, Andrew here with Nashville Severe Weather, 3:45 in the afternoon on Tuesday, and we have a severe thunderstorm warning that's been issued for Davidson and Williamson counties. Williamson County, it just barely scrapes Williamson County on the east side, basically from Nolensville Road to the east. For Davidson County, it includes up toward Percy Priest Lake, includes right up to around B&A and Donaldson. But I'll show you what's going on here. This is for a complex of storms that we've been following all day that began up in Kentucky and started coming down to the southeast toward us. And we have been just barely on the west side of that line. And you can see right here this blue line here. And this is a gust front. This is an outflow boundary that is sort of helping to trigger these storms over here that are east of us. And that as that gust front comes through, it could spark additional storms back here just inside Davidson and Williamson counties. And these storms have had a lot of wind with them. These have been windy storms all the way from Kentucky, all the way down, sporadic, scattered wind damage, it appears. And that's possible that we could get some of that here in southeastern Davidson County and eastern Williamson County. So it doesn't necessarily have to be storming, as in raining and thunder and lightning at your place, to get wind damage out of this. And what we sort of anticipate is this gust front comes through, and that gust front just itself could have 40, 50 mile per hour winds with it that could bring down trees and power lines, that kind of thing, just with the gust front itself. So that's what we're watching here. Is this severe thunderstorm warning, a pretty large polygon here that includes Davidson and Williamson counties there on the far eastern side of Williamson County. Let's see here. I'm going to see if I can get a link up here for everybody and make sure that we have what we need to out for everybody to watch. And David has tweeted that. That's good. All right, perfect. Great. So David's over on Twitter. One thing we've really needed today, the Weather Service has asked for any reports that we might have, and especially up there in Sumner County. If you happen to be watching from Sumner County or Wilson County, sort of the areas over here east of us where the storms are really going, and if there are reports of severe damage out there, wind damage, trees down, anything like that, let us know here. Even though we cover Davidson and Williamson, we still sort of curate the reports from all over the place that come in from hashtag TSpotter on Twitter. So send us a report using hashtag TSpotter, and we'll get that report over to the Weather Service. They've needed those reports today to try to determine, are these severe winds reaching the ground or not? And so that would be helpful. And so if you have a report to send us, even if you're outside of Davidson or Williamson counties, we would love to know about that. We'll get that over to the Weather Service. Incidentally, Davidson County is under a special weather statement. Let me show that to you here. We tweeted about it just a little bit ago, but you see this white polygon here. This was the Weather Service noting about this gust front coming through. It could have 50 mile per hour winds with it, really anywhere in Davidson County. And so that's something that they wanted us to be aware of inside this white polygon, is the possibility for some 50 mile per hour winds inside Davidson County, pretty much anywhere. And so that's what that white polygon is there. That is a special weather statement that they issued here, 10, 15 minutes ago, something like that. And so be aware that really anywhere in Davidson County, that could be an issue. All right, so this severe thunderstorm warning is in effect until 4:30. So another, 40 minutes on this, and so it could evolve. The warning polygon could evolve over time as the storm moves down to the southeast. So Davidson County could be removed from the warning, or Williamson. We'll just have to see. The warnings typically will evolve over time after they're issued, based on where the storms go, and once they pass through an area, they typically will clear areas that the storm has already moved through. So this severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for another 40 minutes till 4:30. And but most of the rain is east of Davidson County. But again, if you just joined us, I know David tweeted the link just a second ago, so some of you may have just joined us. This blue line here is an outflow boundary that is producing wind for sure up around Beeman Park as it comes through Davidson County, downtown Nashville coming into downtown, right across B&A and Percy Priest Lake. So we know that's producing wind. That's just what they do, and that's why we see the signature on the radar here. Right around Percy Priest Lake, and this outflow boundary could be producing some pretty strong winds, and also any storms that form behind that outflow boundary. These outflow boundaries can serve to really spark storms behind them, and any storms that form right behind that outflow boundary could be strong and could even be severe. So this warning here covers us here in eastern Davidson County for a couple of different possibilities, even if you are not getting severe weather right now, and you assume it's over just east of you. So if we go up in the atmosphere here, we can kind of see where the tall updrafts are. It looks like there's one kind of trying to get going around East Brentwood. This is up at around 14,000 feet. So it looks like a cell trying to get going over Brentwood. Also appears a cell trying to get going over B&A. So that just gives us a look up in the atmosphere to kind of see what's going on. It looks like some cells are just trying to get going here right there around southeastern Davidson County. So we'll see how that evolves, and we got plenty of time here to hang out and see what happens here over the next 30 to 40 minutes as this severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for both counties. Now, Williamson County, you can look down here. Franklin's not included in this severe thunderstorm warning, and unless things expand to the west, unless the storms expand to the west from where they are now, I wouldn't expect to have any warnings issued for additionally for Williamson County or Davidson. But right now, that warning is just in effect from about Nolensville Road east, and that's only a few miles. So it's a pretty small sliver of Williamson County that's included in that, and Davidson as well. It looks like they are already starting to trim some northern counties out of the severe thunderstorm watch that was issued earlier. And that severe thunderstorm watch that was issued a while back in advance of these storms was in effect until 8 o'clock. And it looks like they're starting to already trim some of those counties out up there on the north side, up along the Kentucky border. We are still included in the watch. For reasons that these storms are still moving through, but they're starting to clear some of these counties up here along the Kentucky border. So that's a good sign. Good sign is that once these things move through, once this outflow boundary, this blue line, this outflow boundary moves through, once these storms move through, it looks like we're going to be in good shape, at least for now, as they start trimming that severe thunderstorm watch. Let's check the chat, see what you guys are up to. Elizabeth, I'm just starting down here and seeing what we got. Will the outflow boundary forming affect our counties? Yes, the outflow boundary is affecting our counties. The outflow boundary's been around all day. It's just been up to our north. It's been right out ahead of the storms, and it can serve to help spark additional storms. So one of the things we're going to watch is if storms light up back here to the west over northern Davidson County, eastern Davidson County. Sometimes these outflow boundaries can really get storms going. So far, they've just not quite been able to get as far west as Davidson. It's close. I mean, it's like almost it's like right to the county line over in Mount Juliet as far as where this line of storms has been able to get to. So it doesn't have to do a whole lot to get to further west over Davidson. So that's one thing we're watching, is to see if these storms do form further out west. Any concern from the storms in northwest Kentucky? We're just going to have to watch those. I know what you're talking about. There's some storms out over northwestern Kentucky here. We're on the Nashville radar, so this is way out there for the National radar to be looking at. But yeah, there's some storms back here around southern Illinois, and if we turn on the St. Louis radar, some storms up here. But we're just gonna have to watch and see how those evolve. Radar or computer models are they're really terrible with these kinds of setups. We're just gonna have to watch and see what happens here with those storms up there. I don't anticipate them being severe. The HRRR model certainly isn't impressed with them, but we're just gonna have to watch and see how that goes. Elizabeth says, so our atmosphere is ready to pop with the right spark. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of energy out there today. Tweeted earlier today that the atmosphere really has, for late July, has quite a bit of energy with it. Not only energy, but there is a little bit of shear in the atmosphere today that these storms could take advantage of. So those are just a couple of ingredients, and it's they seem to be around today. Are we in can't predict small spin up tornado possible territory this afternoon? William asks. Wilson Severe mentioned NWS reported possible rotation. Yeah, that rotation over in Wilson County was just a very brief. What we see with tornadoes this time of year, typically if we have a tornado come up this time of year, they are very brief. They are typically very weak, and it's really hard to warn them because they may only last 1 or 2 radar scans max. So by the time a warning comes out, the thing's gone. They're very, very difficult to warn. So yeah, they've been watching for that today. Been watching for any indication of rotation trying to get going. I can tell you they've been watching that very carefully. But anything that starts to look like it might be rotating in the slightest bit has sort of fallen apart. And that's what the Wilson County thing was just a little bit ago. Like the one that flipped the trailer at MTSU yesterday. Yeah, the Weather Service they actually went down there today. Haven't heard yet on the survey of that to see what the extent of that little thing was. But, I mean, that's a classic example of just really how difficult sometimes these tiny, tiny little tornadoes can be. But haven't seen any indication yet of that happening today. All right, let's go back, take a look at the warning here. While we're here is this severe thunderstorm warning that got drawn into Davidson County because we are awfully close to this line of storms. I mean, it really wouldn't have to do a whole lot to expand over into Davidson County, eastern Davidson County, especially with this outflow boundary here, this blue line. This is basically a wall of wind that, typically outside of a summer thunderstorm, you feel a gust of wind sort of come out of the storm. That's what this is. And typically, this time of year, it's very usual and very typical for an outflow boundary to create additional storms right behind it. And so this warning being pushed into Davidson County and eastern Williamson County is sort of to account for that, I think. That, hey, it wouldn't be hard for this thing to grow at all into eastern Davidson County. And the storms that do form could be strong. And the winds of the outflow boundary itself might be strong. And so we could have a little bit of damage from that wind. So this is a wind kind of event. Again, the threat for tornadoes today is not zero. It's very low, but it's not zero. We have a little bit of shear available today. And so it could be possible that we have a lot of energy out there. It's very hot. I mean, I take this with a really big grain of salt. But my weather station outside, that's out in the middle of a field. It's not on a roof or anything. It's 93 degrees, and the feels like is 111 on that thing. Again, huge grain of salt, but it's very hot, very muggy out there today. Okay, so that's that severe thunderstorm warning there. We're just going to kind of leave that up. There's not really that much else to look at other than that polygon being there and the storms being mostly east of us, but we're just sort of watching for development here in eastern Davidson County. and we'll see. Do you know the exact number, chance of tornadoes? It's a 2% chance within 25 miles of you. Again, it's among the lowest probability tornado outlooks that are issued. So 2% chance within 25 miles of you is the Storm Prediction Center rating today. So pretty low. Has there been a situation where you covered a storm that only included a tiny sliver of one of the counties, like maybe hitting a percent of Hermitage by the border? Yeah, I mean, sometimes, I mean, storms don't care about counties and at all. And so sometimes a storm will just barely come into our county, and we they have to warn it. I mean, they have to. There's no, I mean, you have to give a little bit of grace to these storms. I mean, they're gonna morph, and especially in the summertime, and you have to account for that. So absolutely, I mean, there are many times they've been right on the line, and it just happens that. And it looks like actually we just got excluded from the warning. They just shorted up, and it looks like you'll see this change here in just a second. Changed on some other software, but they actually just drew the warning to exclude us. Watch this. You'll see what happens here. There it goes. All right. So it looks like the threat now, they're sort of keeping it east of Davidson County now. The storm doesn't appear to be forming west. It doesn't appear to be back building, as we call it, back to the west. So the outflow boundary looks to not be triggering additional storms back our direction in a big way. So they have shored up that warning back closer to the actual storm that is occurring, and we are now excluded in both counties from the severe thunderstorm warning. So, how was that? That was good. All right. Well, we're going to jump off of here. We'll go back to Twitter, and we'll hang out there. We'll watch things. Looks like a nice downpour right over TB&A. So that's TB&A radar there. That's right there on the north side of Kidd Road in Nolensville, right around the Burkett Place subdivision. And there's a little shower there, nice old downpour to wet the streets down. But that's about it right now. So we'll hang out over on Twitter, and you guys have a great afternoon. We'll talk to you a little later on, all right? See ya.